I miss every kiss, on every night that you appear in my dreams. At noon sharp, Jong Mubi packed a salad and an iced Americano from a corner cafe. On her way back, she dashed into a fruit store for some freshly cut fruit. By the time she hurried back to the studio out of breath, the morning shoot had already wrapped up. Great work, everyone know. Has anyone seen Xavier? Jong Mubi handed out the takeaway coffee to the photographers and assistants who were finishing up. Her gaze darted around, searching for Lin Xingxuan. HES probably in the lounge. Mr. Lin was in great shape today, super fast with the shots. The brand director for today's shoot was a friend of Lin Xingxuan's and had insisted he be the face of the season. One of their regular photographers happened to be on the mainland, so Lin Xingxuan had flown from Hong Kong to Shanghai late the previous night after finishing his schedule there. He'd gotten only 4 hours of sleep before starting work. Jong Mubi found him in the lounge just as expected. He was reclining on the sofa, napping with his makeup still on, a streak of deep blue paint under his eyelids. He wore his own oversized white hoodie, half-minus buried in it, reminding Jong Mubi of certain Baroque paintings shed seen in European art galleries. Ornate, romantic, and faintly elusive. She closed the door softly. By the time she turned around, Lin Xingxuan was already awake, looking tired, watching her quietly. I'm hungry. He stared at the paper bags in her hands but didn't move, his long legs stretched out straight toward her toes. Jong Mubi handed him the coffee and salad. The blue under his eyes flickered, and he finally sat up. Lin Xingxuan had spent the entire previous month in the U.S., turning down all work to spend a long holiday with his family. He'd always been like that, completely relaxed on vacation, unrestrained about eating the thing models cared about most, slacking off on exercise and neglecting his figure. But before returning to work, he would start controlling his diet consciously, adjusting his condition, even cutting out carbs entirely to look his best in front of the camera. As his assistant, Jong Mubi respected his professionalism and gladly ran errands to buy his diet meals. Lin Xingxuan didn't take what she offered for a long while. He lowered his eyes, gazed for a moment as if gathering himself. I had a dream. What about her? Have you ever seen this girl? He picked up his phone from beside him and showed her his lock screen. It was a widely circulated black -and -white photo online. A young man's hair was blown sideways by the wind. He was smiling at the camera, his eyes clear and bright. On the left side of the frame in front of him was the -focused silhouette of a short -haired girl, like a passerby who accidentally wandered into the shot. Jong Mubi studied the photo carefully for a long time. Sorry. Even though you've asked me the same question so many times, I can only give you the same answer. In this picture, all I see is a supermodel shining at 19. She added, haven't you found her yet? Are you still going to keep looking for her? He answered irrelevantly, I dream about her all the time. Before he met her, Lin Xingxuan had always been Xavier. He had just turned 19 that year, living with his parents in a mansion in the wealthy Highland Park neighborhood of Chicago, surrounded by neighbors of wealth and status. Like most teenagers his age, he spoke English, listened to Miley Cyrus and Katy Perry, stayed up late online, and posted photos of his latest sneakers on social media. Of course, there were differences. He had been exceptionally good looking since childhood. By 17, he was 1.88 meters tall. With his mother's connections in the fashion industry, He'd lived up to the old saying that one should become famous young, working in fashion while attending school. Xavier was half-Chinese, half-American. His mother, Lin Yiyu, had studied in the U.S. at a young age and settled there to start a family. He took after her with black hair and a slender frame, but his straight nose and deep set eyes came from his father. Put together, his features made him a bright, elegant young man whether he smiled or not. His life was routine. Aside from occasional shoots and runway shows, he spent most of his time at school. Since his family rarely cooked, he usually ate dinner out before driving home. He remembered the evening it all happened. He'd been eating at an Italian restaurant near school with classmates. They'd laughed and talked, the atmosphere light, and He'd drunk a little more than he should. Just then, his mother called to remind him about the magazine cover shoot the next day. Hearing He'd been drinking, she told him not to drive and said she'd send an assistant to pick him up. The accident happened at the intersection just before he reached home. Jolted awake by the sudden break in the back seat, Xavier was still shaken when he noticed the female assistant in the front covering her mouth in terror, one hand on the steering wheel. Further ahead, about 3 meters in front of their car, a black Rolls-Royce was parked. In between the two vehicles lay a bloodied man on the ground. Once she'd recovered, the assistant turned to him immediately. "Xavier, don't look." But he didn't look away. He quickly recognized the man as Mr. Jones, who lived on the same street, and calmly called the police. Their neighborhood was buzzing for a long time afterward. TV and newspapers covered the incident endlessly with reports and speculation. Local residents grew annoyed and protested multiple times, and media coverage died down slightly, until Mr. Jones' company's Ponzi scheme was exposed, triggering an even fiercer wave of public opinion. It was during those days that he began to see her often. She blended into the crowd and noticed, playing all kinds of roles. Sometimes she was a journalist with a notebook pretending to gather information. Sometimes she was a victim, standing among angry investors, demanding compensation for their losses, until one day, a girl stopped him. "I seen you in Vogue. Can I get your autograph?" She held out a tattered notebook and flipped it open in front of him. Xavier was surprised, but he pulled a pen from his pocket. The moment he looked down, his gaze froze. On the open page lay a photo of Mr. Jones at the scene of the accident. Her name was Chang Jingxiao, and her real identity was an investigator. The law firm she worked for was prestigious in the city. She was 20-3 that year. Her firm had taken on Jones' case. The owner of the Rolls-Royce was accused of murder, and the leads weren't angled. She wandered the area every day looking for clues, collecting countless pieces of true and false information to sort through at the firm, hoping to help win the case. By then, Xavier had already received counseling and assisted the police with their investigation. To protect him, his identity had not been leaked to the media. Cheng Jingxiang was the first person to seek him out. Their first conversation lasted only a few minutes. Xavier was wary and revealed almost no useful information. "Do you speak Chinese?" she suddenly asked him in Chinese. "Yes, I have a Chinese name." "Oh," she raised an eyebrow, seeming amused. "What is it?" "Lin Xingchuan," he said. "Stellar rivers and mountains." He'd expected her to ask more out of curiosity, but she just curled her lip, unimpressed. "But you look like a little cookie." Lin Xingchuan froze. She had already turned and left, leaving him with a black clad back. The image stuck with him unconsciously. She wore a large Billingham camera bag slung over one shoulder. It was summer, and she had on a fitted camisole top, her shoulder blades sharp and prominent. She was cool and sharp, utterly confident. She sought him out several more times, once at his school. She stepped out from behind a tall colonnade with her arms crossed and greeted him casually. "Do you actually read magazines?" Lin Xingchuan asked that night, eating dinner with her on campus, a little curious and a little smug. "I'm in this issue of Vogue, actually on the big cover." He took a big sip of coffee, then pointed at the good-looking crepe in front of him. "So I was wrong, little cookie." She nodded at him. She asked if he would testify in court, but Lin Xingchuan was sure. The conversation fell silent. He forgot who spoke next, but they gradually moved past the case and talked about other things, including her background. She had been adopted from an orphanage by American parents at the age of 4 and had lived abroad ever since. Her adoptive parents had given her a good life, allowing her to study and see the wider world. She formally introduced herself and her name. "I never changed it. Too much trouble. Life's better light." left anyway. After dinner, they prepared to go their separate ways. Li Xingchuan suddenly said, "Why don't we exchange contact info, so it's easier for you to find me?" Even though he suspected she never had trouble finding him in the first place. "Sure," Cheng Jingxiang said crisply. She turned to leave. "Hey," Li Xingchuan's voice rose. "Leaving already?" She paused. "I sent it to you." He looked down and saw a new message. Then he heard her ask, "When you saw James die right in front of you, were you scared?" She had obviously investigated him, including his family background. It surprised her that a little cookie raised in such a sheltered environment could keep studying and living normally after witnessing such a tragedy, showing no signs of distress. Terrified, especially once it was ruled a murder. I still get chills thinking about it. Since that's the case, could you walk me home? Lin Xingchuan said. It was 10 o'clock in the evening when Lin Xingchuan finally finished work. He changed into his casual clothes as usual and got into the van. Just as Zhang Mubi settled everything and told the driver to leave, he suddenly said, "I left my phone on set. I'm going back to get it." He refused assistant's help and insisted on going alone. The corridor outside the studio was still brightly lit, the harsh lights turning it into day. Lin Xingchuan stood at the door, pulled his phone out of his pocket, and called Zhang Mubi. He told her HED decided to grab a 8- night snack with the photographer and told them to drive back first. Zhang Mubi held the phone suspicious. She had clearly seen the photographer pack up and leave earlier. But even worried, she didn't press further. She reminded him about tomorrow's schedule and hung up. Lin Xingchuan stood in the corridor outside the studio for a long time, his shadow clearly reflected on the glass door. He stepped sideways, adjusting his angle to peer inside, as if checking for some secret signal. After staring for a long while, he turned his head and fixed his gaze on the security camera above. The building was silent at night. The black camera loomed like an endless black hole of time, ready to pull him into nothingness. Before long, he found the security room and asked the guard to review that day's surveillance footage. When asked why, he hesitated for a moment, then said, "Someone I've been wanting to see again. I think she was here." The guard knew the large studio on the 15th floor, frequented by fashion's favorites. Perhaps the late night made people lonely and soft-hearted. He didn't question whether Lin Xingchuan had the right to view the footage and pulled up the recordings for him. The young man leaned over the screen, watching closely. The guard guessed he was around 20, with strikingly sharp features, lit by the faint glow of the monitor. Though he looked tired, there was an otherworldly, almost hypnotic beauty about him. In truth, Lin Xingchuan wasn't even sure HED really seen Jing Xingxiang. That brief glimpse might have just been a fantasy born from years of imagining and missing her. For a split second, he thought he saw her standing outside the door, looking at him with that calm, scrutinizing gaze she'd always had. Then he heard the photographer behind the camera say, "Xavier, your gaze is wandering." When he snapped back, she was gone. He replayed that fleeting moment in his head over and over, hesitating long before seeking proof, wanting confirmation. Yet, fearing disappointment, consumed by this anxiety, he didn't finish watching all the footage. Before he left, the guard asked, "Did the person you wanted to see show up?" When he didn't answer, the guard added, "Someone like you, what person could you not find?" HED heard words like that many times. You will live a life full of joy. Far more than most people, his mother had told him at his birthday party this year. "I'm 20-3 now. I've finally reached the age you were back then," he murmured to himself as he left the security room. "But Cheng Jingxiang, I haven't been very happy these past few years. Why didn't you become a lawyer?" Lin Xingchuan once asked Cheng Jingxiang. "Why do you ask?" she said, confused. "Are you gonna ask next when I'm reporting to the FBI? You've definitely been watching too many legal dramas." It was an evening in California, the sunset blood-red. They were watching the sun set in front of the Hoover Tower at Stanford University, golden light spilling over them. Cheng Jingxiang lay with her head on Lin Xingchuan's lap, squinting up at the rustling leaves above. Lin Xingchuan was there for an international physics competition as a student representative. By then, they had met many times. From the first time Hed asked her to walk him home. They'd shared countless moments where walking you home made time fly, even though she always called him Little Cookie, and even though he found her fussy at times, an inexplicable pull drew them together. After Jones's death, the collapse of his Ponzi scheme had lasting massive consequences. Angry victims lingered near Jones's house, looking to lash out. Cheng Jingxiang reminded Lin Xingchuan to wear a mask and hat when going in doubt. If it's that dangerous, you wear it. Ladies first, he said, placing a black bucket hat on her head. She squirmed uncomfortably, trying to give it back, but his arm was strong, one hand almost cupping the back of her ear. Good, he whispered. Even a cookie's hat might be a little sweet. Without a doubt, this was romance. But the sweetness didn't last long. Soon, they kissed under the brim of that hat. His long fingers, once resting behind her ear, slid around her neck to rest between her collarbones. His lips were soft as ripe peaches, with a scent of licorice and sandalwood, drawing her into a tender illusion, one of clear moonlight and crimson glow. She wore the hat back to the firm that night. She received a call from Lin Xingchuan, telling her he was going to Stanford. It's an international physics competition. You'll be gone about a week. She didn't praise his talent, simply saying good luck with everything. Hed expected her to say, "I'll miss you while you're gone," or "I want to take time off and come with you." The perfect responses, but her cold reaction stunned him. That night, he locked himself in his room, staring at his reflection in the mirror for a long time. Overwhelmed by a sense of failure and self-doubt Hed never felt before. To Lin Xingchuan's surprise, the day after he arrived at Stanford, Cheng Jingxiang flew over. His team had just won their first match, and teammates were gathering for photos. "Xavier, look here," a female classmate called, raising her camera. Instinctively, as a model and buoyed by the thrill of winning, he smiled. At that exact moment, a girl darted across the frame, wind swirling around her, her blurred profile captured in the shot. She stayed at Stanford for 2 days before rushing back for work. She was taking a late-night flight. Lin Xingchuan felt regretful and guilty. "I shouldn't have let you come. You didn't make me. I'm just on vacation." "And why did you?" She answered him after boarding the plane. "A single star is too lonely. Stars should form a constellation to shine with you." In the years since he entered the industry, Lin Xingchuan had given many interviews. Perhaps they had been carefully curated, but no reporter had ever asked about his love life. In truth, he secretly hoped someone would. If it were published, maybe she would see it. In this interview that never happened, he wanted to say, "I've been looking for a girl who ran past me at Stanford University. That moment was captured, the only photo we have together. I want to find her. Love makes people put on a brave face. I'm actually a very cowardly person, but I keep telling myself not to back down." Every time he thought this, memories of Cheng Jingxiang flooded back. After returning from Stanford, they were both busy, yet still stole time to meet. His hair grew longer. Once, she brushed his bangs and tilted her head, smiling. "Why do you keep such thick bangs?" "They're too long, almost as long as mine." The next time they met, he had his hair tied back. She teased him anyway, "Looks like a golden headband." Although Lin Xingchuan spoke Chinese, his reading skills were limited, so she told him the story of Journey to the West. But her own skills were rusty, and she stumbled through it, making Lin Xingchuan frown. "What? Is it hard to understand?" "I'm just wondering if there really is a spell that makes your head split open and forces you to give up." Cheng Jingxiang stared at him, struck by his startling innocence. In that moment, countless thoughts rushed through her. She was usually decisive, but now she felt confused and uncertain where their relationship was heading, unsure if she could truly keep such a pure, clean lover. She leaned over to grab a napkin beside him, her arm propped on the table, lingering. Across the narrow fast-food table, she pressed a kiss to his cheek. "This is the spell," she whispered in his ear. Shortly afterward, Lin Xingxuan flew to Italy. Between work, he picked out a gift for her. It was the first time HED bought a present for a girl besides his mother, and he felt nervous, but mostly joyful and expectant. When he returned to Chicago, he called her immediately. At first, the line was busy. When he tried again, it was off. A bad feeling rose in his chest, and he rushed to her law firm. Only then did he learn her English name was Zoe, and that she had worked there for 3 years. The firm refused to comment on her whereabouts. Lin Xingxuan stormed into the partner's office, causing a scene that drew security. He finally called Lin Yu and learned his mother was a major client of the firm. That night, the family meeting lasted until late. Lin Xingxuan sat opposite his parents, silent the entire time. In the end, Lin Yu sighed, speaking half-comfortingly, half-warningly. "Savior, young passion leads to careless mistakes. Your father and I understand, and we don't want to interfere too much. But you're almost 20. You need to understand what you're doing." "Falling in love," he suddenly said in Chinese, his voice calm. A storm was coming. Lin Xingxuan could feel it, hidden beneath a gentle breeze. Quiet for now, it was about to surge, dragging countless hidden parts of life to the surface. Lin Xingxuan never gave Cheng Jing Xiao the gift HED bought. He traveled frequently over the years, and the small box stayed in his suitcase. Sometimes, on sleepless nights, he took it out, for on nights were always bright with neon lights, the whole city glowing outside the window, his longing spread like stars in the night sky. Yet he never had the courage to open the box again. After his outburst at the law firm, there was no word from Cheng Jingxiang for a long time. He slowly realized how little HED actually known about her. Their lives had overlapped only in tiny fragments. In her absence, he ate at the restaurants they used to frequent whenever he was free, ordering her favorite sugar-glazed apple crepe. Then one day, she appeared again, travel-worn, sitting across from him without warning. "Hey, my co-worker said a really good looking guy was asking for me. Probably one of your clients." "No way. I know the people I work with." She blinked, her own light. "Did you need something?" She wore an oversized denim shirt. As she spoke, her right hand slipped unconsciously into her sleeve, a detail Lin Xingzhuan caught. He lifted his head calmly, his gaze deep. "Welcome back, Zoe." Cheng Jingxiang held his gaze steadily, then smiled faintly, but the smile faded quickly, as if a long burning flame had suddenly died. She offered no explanation and stood up to leave at once. A 20-3-, yeah, old Lin Xingxuan would not have called out her lies in that moment. But he was still young then, impulsive and unsteady. He chased after her and grabbed her arm tightly. They stood frozen at the restaurant door, wordless. Soon, he noticed blood seeping steadily from her arm, spreading across the denim shirt. The stain grew larger, yet she didn't make a sound. Facing Lin Xingxuan's panicked eyes, Cheng Jingxiang only said, "While I was gone, I worked on another investigation. I got hurt in an accident and spent some time in the hospital." Was it serious?" Her lips paled, but her tone remained light, as if talking about something trivial. "A gunshot wound. Lucky to be alive." Later, he drove her to a doctor like a man possessed, his hands shaking as he fumbled for his phone to call a private physician. But Cheng Jingxiang stopped him. "Don't. I have a friend who can help clean the wound. HE's been treating me. I'll give you the address." Her friend's clinic was in the suburbs. It barely saved Cheng Jingxiang from slipping into shock from blood loss. She woke up late at night. Lin Xingxuan had fallen asleep in a chair beside her bed. Shortly before, Lin Yu's personal assistant had visited, passing on her offer to find Cheng Xiang a better doctor. Lin Xingzhuan had refused firmly. The assistant sighed, looking understanding, and left after confirming he was safe. After seeing the assistant off, He ran into Cheng Jingxiang's doctor friend outside. He was a tall American man who, like Zoe, looked at people with a sharp, sucking gaze. "You're younger than I thought," he said. "Zoe told me about you. She said her boyfriend is a very young boy but brave enough to love her. She showed me your photos. Actually, she bought every magazine with you in it and saved pictures of you on her phone. She doesn't have many friends. Besides me, she probably never told anyone that this pretty boy was the one she liked." He also told Lin Xingqiu, an assistant, the first time she's been hurt. "Her job is dangerous, especially for a girl. I told her to wait until her wounds fully healed before going back, but she wouldn't listen." Cheng Jingxiang only rested for half a month. She lost weight during recovery and soon threw herself back into work with her usual energy. Not long after, Lin Xingqiu saw the verdict in the Jones case on television. He had indeed been murdered. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed with microphones, trapping the lawyers on both sides. Lin Xingqiu spotted Cheng Jingxiang in the crowd. She looked neither happy nor relieved. She simply stood apart and slipped away quickly. He brought champagne and a gift to her apartment. When HED left the clinic last time, HED walked her home for the first time. She lived alone in a predominantly black neighborhood. Her apartment was large, but it felt spacious because she owned so few things. On the living room table, he saw the 2 stacks of magazines the doctor had mentioned. He flipped one open and smiled happily. "That swimming pool was rented from a friend of my dad's. I remember swimming for a long time after the shoot. By the time I got out, it was cold. I drove past Navy Pier alone on the way back, lots of tourists. I thought then, next time I want to be there with someone. We could take a yacht and watch fireworks on Lake Michigan." Cheng Jingxiang didn't respond directly. She leaned over to look at the page HED opened and said after a moment, "It wouldn't be that hard." Her living room had no sofas or tables, only a few cushions scattered on the floor. They sat and finished the bottle of champagne. Lin Xingqiu was in high spirits, wanting more. "He'll go buy another one." Cheng Jingxiang stopped him. Her fridge held almost nothing, but she always kept whiskey. She stood up and poured him a glass, adding soda water and tonic, explaining that stocking liquor was a habit. Her adoptive parents had been heavy drinkers, attending AA meetings but never quitting. When they got drunk, they argued and took it out on the kids. She said she'd been beaten many times as a child. Even though the U.S. had strong child protection laws, her status was complicated. Moving to another family would have meant the unknown. She couldn't wait to start working once she turned 18. "I'm sure you think this job is hard and dangerous, not worth it," she said, handing him the glass and clinking it lightly against his own. "But it's not. Some people love the spotlight. Others don't want to be seen." In the latter, they sat facing each other. Lin Xingqiu leaned against the wall, his long legs bent. She tilted her head and rested her cheek on his cuff. They talked for a long time. Eventually, he began to feel drowsy, as if a wave of heat had swept into the room, pulling him into a foggy sleep. Just before he lost consciousness, he said to Cheng Jingxiang, "I picked out a gift for you. It's a necklace in my coat pocket. It has a little star on it. If you want, you can think of it as me." He woke up at home, hungover. His parents told him there had been a fire. They didn't scold him for going there. They only said, "The fire was big. Luckily you knew to escape down the stairs. The firefighters found you in the stairwell. You'll be fine once you rest." Lin Xingqiu was dazed. It was only his second time at her apartment, and she'd always taken the elevator with him. The old building had a maze of hallways. He didn't know where the stairs were. The fire had started accidentally in a residence home. 6 people died in the blaze. Cheng Jingxiang was missing. Soon after, Lin Xingqiu received a notice from the fire department asking him to collect clothes left at the scene. The firefighter who rescued him said the orange jacket had been soaked and draped over him. He took it. The fabric was dry now. The necklace HED planned to give her was still in the pocket, untouched. Lin Xingchuan had been searching for Cheng Jingxiang for years. He pieced together every fragment of their time together, chasing clues bit by bit. Eventually, he felt he was slowly becoming her. She was never heard from again. Sometimes he had blackouts, just as he couldn't remember a single detail of the fire. He would suddenly forget what she looked like, making all these years of stubborn searching feel like a hallucination. He would think, maybe love really is just an illusion. But even so, I still want to love you, even if it means facing loss and heartbreak. Perhaps that is what love is, loss and heartbreak. He dreamed of her often. The dreams fixed many things he regretted. He could have kissed her sooner, not caused a scene at her firm, not grabbed her arm roughly outside the restaurant. He could have met her earlier when she was little, when she was young, in all the moments she needed a hug. Those dreams were long as sighs, deep as the night sea. His mother spoke to him once. I believe your friend isn't dead. Maybe she just feels guilty. But Qingchuan didn't understand. Ania said she must really like you, which is why she blames herself for pulling you into her life. Love can be selfish sometimes, and terribly selfless at other seven, to the point of sacrificing herself. She added, don't look at me like that. While I was curious about your relationship with Ms. Cheng, I never interfered, and not that kind of mother. Later, Lin Yu arranged for Lin Xingchuan to visit China many times, telling him to switch environments and relax between work. He hadn't finished watching the surveillance footage that night, because he realized something had always been true between him and Cheng Jingxiang. She always found a way to reach him, and so, before the final chapter arrived, he would wait for her. Half a month later, Lin Xingchuan was working in Shanghai on the bustling Bund. His assistant Zhang Mubi had to run to the brand studio to exchange an A-fitting suit. Before leaving, she hurried to tell him, I ordered your lunch already. A staff member will deliver it soon. At noon, he sat under an outdoor shelter waiting for his meal when his phone rang. Hello, is this Mr. Lin? This is New Light Bistro. We sold out of the shrimp and asparagus salad you ordered. Would you like to switch to something else? Suddenly, his eyes flickered. His hand holding the phone trembled slightly, but he kept his voice steady. Sure. Do you have any recommendations? Oh, we recommend a little cookie. Here's pricked Lin Xingqiu on his eyes. He rubbed his eyelids and stood up, scanning the crowd anxiously. HEG been right. His girl always found a way to him. And there she was, standing not far away, smiling and waving at him amid the busy crowd.